Victorious FM, brought to you by Victorious Entrepreneurs. Here's your host, single mum, entrepreneur and brain injury survivor, Michelle Williams.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victorious FM, where every week I'll be introducing you to inspiring women who have gone after their dreams and refuse to give up even in the face of extreme adversity. We'll be diving into her victories and her defeats and discovering the lessons that she's learned along the way, all with the aim of inspiring you to step into your own unique power to create a business and life that you love. And this week I was delighted to welcome LaToya Russell onto the show from LaToyaRussell.com. LaToya is a certified online business manager who is on a mission to help entrepreneurs plan, manage and strategize so that their businesses run smoothly even if they need to step back due to vacation, emergency or poor health. LaToya is an experienced systems strategist and operations manager working with business owners to manage their people, projects and processes so that they can experience the peace of mind and freedom that they dreamed of when they first became entrepreneurs. Through her work, LaToya's clients have been able to take 4-week family vacations and regain total structure after natural disasters and emergencies, all whilst continuing to make passive income. And after having to take 3 years out of my own business due to poor health, I know more than most how important it is to have the right systems and processes in place to safeguard your business from disaster or emergency. So I found this interview with LaToya really insightful, and I hope that you do too. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victorious FM, where I'm really delighted to introduce LaToya Russell onto the show. Hello LaToya, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello Michelle, thank you for having me today.
I'm so pleased to have you on the show because you've got a very important message to share with my listeners, which we'll go on to in a minute. But first of all, because as you know, this podcast is all about celebrating women's triumph over adversity and really helping women to understand that we all have the choice of whether we want to be the victim or victress of our own lives. And I'm really particularly interested in exploring how sometimes the adversity that we go through in life actually sort of shapes us and takes us onto our entrepreneurial paths. And I know that you have your own story of how you've gone onto your own entrepreneurial journey. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about that journey with us today, please.
Definitely. I've come a long way in between there, and every time I recollect what happened, I think about what happened over the years now. I laugh to myself and at the progress that I've made thus far. Now, I had a job that I absolutely loved. The environment was awesome. I loved going to work. I loved the clothing that I had to wear. The people there were very nice. It was one of the best corporate jobs I had, and I thought I would have spent a very long time there. At the mark of year 5, after applying for different jobs, which would have been promotional, I didn't get through. I wasn't promoted. Now, before I was made permanent in that position, I was a temporary employee, and in about 4 months, I had crossed 6 different departments and learned had a very large concept of what was going on in the company and how the company ran. I'm an individual. I get pretty bored in one spot, and as long as I have the concepts mastered, I'm ready to move on from that, because there is a lot that I can learn and also show people to help them to develop when they come on. So to make a long story short, I ended up being the person training new employees as they came in, and I was trying to move away from what I'd already learned and taught to figure out something else. And in my quest, and after being declined over 5 times to move to a different department, I asked a few persons why I wasn't moving, even though I was qualified to do so. And I was told that my heads weren't ready to let me go at the point because I was the best worker in the department and couldn't afford to lose me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were being prevented from moving on because they didn't want to lose you from where you were, basically.
Indeed. And I was very upfront about it. So I spoke to them. They told me the same thing. I went to my human resources department openly. I had a conversation with them. I told them I really needed to move. They actually told me it was very bold, that they've never had one of these conversations before with somebody coming to them saying they need a change like this. And they're glad that I brought it up, because now they're going to introduce something. They would try to introduce something to get employees saying which department they're interested in moving across, even if it's lateral. But that didn't happen before I left there, and HR boldly told me that if I am unable to find an opportunity within the company, they would advise that I seek one outside. And I said, okay, I will do that. I did that. I got through. And when I handed in my resignation, my head of department at the time asked me how much more money he could give me for me to stay. And I said it wasn't about the money. It's about my progress and my development, and you're slowing that down.
Yeah.
He said, are you sure you want me to submit this resignation? I said, I'm positive. He said, I'll keep it on my desk for 2 days in case you change your mind. And I said, I won't change my mind. You can send it in. And I got another job, which I thought was going to be wonderful again. And the office environment, coming from an organization that was so professional and well detailed, and people that knew how they were supposed to interact with each other in the office, even if they didn't agree on things, to go in another setting. This now was a small company, and everyone was it didn't work out, not what I expected. I thought that being in such a small space would have had persons who had a close-knit relationship, and it was quite the opposite. So in less than 2 months, I was job hunting again, and I got fired. And believe when I tell you that I got fired for job hunting, and on my termination paper they had lack of trust, and they told me I should have told them that I was job hunting.
Oh wow.
Nevertheless, I got the job. I went. I was a manager, and heading in by month 2, I knew it wasn't for me. My then boss, he was sarcastic, demeaning, liked to embarrass people in public forums, and it was not the place for me, because I believe in people, and I know that we need people. So I don't treat people that way, and I don't believe in treating employees that way. And he was not someone that I would stay looking up to. So I've had this business for 6 years. I was doing it part-time, and I decided it was time to take the plunge, increase my portfolio, take on some more clientele, resign, and go full-time into it. And that is exactly what I did.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so basically then you started your business like as a side gig really for 6 years. So you're doing it part-time. And what, if we can just explore what that business was or is, and how you got the idea for that business, and really just explore that journey really.
I started as a virtual assistant, just looking for ideas of how to make money online, and that is what I started out to be. My very first client is still with me to this day, and he actually increased his portfolio. He would have, every time I increased my rates, he would have went with me beyond what I started out at, which was really, really low. And then doing some research, I realized, okay, this is not for me, because in corporate, I had moved on from being an administrative assistant, and being a virtual assistant kind of replicated that, except in the online world. And I wanted more managerial experience, more things to do that included being a manager. So I did some more research and found out about online business management, where you're kind of like the office manager in corporate, except you're doing it online. I took certification in that with the International Association, and I got certified. I moved up from virtual assistant. So now what I basically do is I manage businesses in marketing, human resources. I onboard, recruit, I do everything. I actually hire virtual assistants now for clients. I launch online courses, online programs, set up email sequences, make sure that the team is doing everything that they need to, and that includes oversight of any Facebook ad managers, copywriters, social media managers, audio engineers if there's someone with a podcast. So pretty much making sure that the business is functioning even with a virtual team. So we have our virtual meetings every week or bi-weekly depending on how large the client I have is, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I also ensure that all of my clients have standard operating procedures in place, because if we have a team member that has to depart, I don't want them to be out to sea not knowing what to do. So I document every single process in my capacity.
So do you, if you're working for a client and you say there's a whole range of services that you offer, do you find the people that are going to actually implement and execute those services, whether it's to do with Facebook ads or whatever the service is, do you actually find the people through your VA service as well?
Yes, I do, because I don't have a VA service, but yes, if I need a virtual assistant, yes, I will find a virtual assistant for them. So kind of putting the advertisement out there to let them know we're hiring and doing all of the screening and the interviews and getting that person fully equipped with what the organization is about, picking the right person. Eventually, I will definitely have my own team so that when my client needs these persons in different fields, they're with me already, and we're just one cohesive unit so that I don't have to continuously look for persons. But I do find some quality talent out there to assign to our projects. And I was particularly interested in sort of touching upon do you call it the operating procedures? Standard operating procedures. And this is really important, because obviously this is all about having documented all of the processes and procedures so that a business owner's business can continue to survive and thrive, make money and operate basically in an emergency. And that's really one of the key reasons I was so excited to have you on the show, because I think a lot of us start out in business, and particularly when we start out, we might be the only person working in that business initially, and we have all of our operating procedures and processes in our heads and not actually documented. And I'm speaking from personal experience here that I've been in business for about 18 years, and my original business, which is the Craft Academy, has actually survived something which perhaps a lot of companies wouldn't, and that is the fact that I suffered a brain hemorrhage about 3 years ago, and I wasn't able to work, but my business continued to survive, thrive and make money despite the fact that I wasn't able to work in the business. And this is one of the things that I want to get across to people. It's so important to have those operating practices, processes and procedures in place. So can you talk a little bit more about that, how you help with that and why it's so important? Definitely. What I start with initially when onboarding a client is a business intensive. So we go through all of their current procedures, try to analyze what is working, what could possibly change, what systems they already have, what they could do with. And before implementing, I kind of like what we usually call in our set 30 dating period, we go through and work alongside what they already have to get a wealth of knowledge of how it functions before you change. So you don't just jump in and change everything the moment you start with a client. Most of these are made after month 3, when you've really fully understood the business and you're well incorporated inside of it. So going into it, to get these procedures in place, I analyze the methods that clients are using, create the processes and document them inside of what we call standard operating procedures. Now this is done by step laying out every single thing you do to get a process completed. And it could include things as simple as where to save things on the drive, where things are located, and what you should name them. We know I have a pet peeve of how people name files. where everybody names a document something different. And this is what was a really big peeve of me, especially in corporate. Because if I had to work after someone or work for someone who wasn't there and I was looking for a file, I had a colleague who named the files as dates. So in order to find what you wanted, you had to open every single file, because there was nothing saying that this is podcast information or launching information. She just saved with a date.
Yeah.
So if we were saving information for podcasts today, we would have podcast with LaToya Russell, or we would say interview with LaToya Russell, and in parentheses at the end, podcast. So that when you search for podcasts, all of your podcasts come up, and then you can see the list of everyone's name. So there's a saving process as well. The names of the folder you put these things in, the list links are included inside of these documents. It helps that when you bring on a new team member, you're expanding or replacing someone, you don't have to sit down to go through daily tasks to bring them up to speed, because as long as you tell your new employee or your new contractor that the information can be found on a shared drive, they're going to search that drive high and low before they come to you. They're going to make coming to you the last resort, and that is what business owners want.
Yeah, absolutely, and just so important. So I mean, how did you kind of get the inspiration for your business idea in the first place? Would you say it's just evolved from those early days when you first started it as your side hustle, if we want to call it that?
Definitely just research, and I have along the way during my certification, I found a lovely mentor to get my certification going. I watched her page, I watched how she was interacting with everyone. I looked at her social media, and during all of that, I realized that she was one of the persons who were responsible for carrying out the course, because I think there are about 3 or 4 persons who do the course on behalf of the International Association. And I booked a call with her. And on that call, I was really moved by some of the things she told me. And the rates that I was charging then, after speaking with Sarah said, no, LaToya, you, based on your experience, you could be charging triple what you are charging right now. There's no reason for you to be charging that, even though you are not yet certified. And as soon as I got off the phone with her, I tripled my rates.
Yeah.
And I booked a new client at my new rates in less than a week. And I said, oh wow, Sarah was really serious about someone paying me this amount of money to do this work for them. And I wanted to get into her program, and at the time that I really wanted to join, I couldn't because I didn't have the funds. It was starting the very same week I had the conversation with her. And then in 3 weeks after the program started, I had all the money. It runs every 3 months, and by the next quarter, I was able to start and become certified.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think sometimes we quite often don't value our own knowledge, experience, and we underprice ourselves. It does sometimes take somebody from the outside to actually recognise that we have a lot of value to share, don't you think?
I do, and I was really, really scared to hit send on that proposal when I increased that price. I was fine thinking someone's gonna pay me at this lower price I was charging. And then when Sarah gave me the nudge, I was like, oh my God, how do I send this? I hit send, closed my eyes, and walked away. And I'm, oh my gosh, I'm gonna run this person away with this price. And then I saw a payment notification popped up on my phone. They didn't send back an email asking for clarity, nothing. They just paid the invoice, and we had our onboarding session the next 3 days. No questions, none.
Because I think sometimes also if you kind of underprice yourself, then it's not representing quality as well. So you kind of have to charge what you're worth, don't you? I think it's so important, but some of us are so afraid to do that. I wanted to ask you as well, obviously your whole entrepreneurial journey, what do you think, your biggest lessons are that you've learned about sort of starting, launching and growing your business? What are the biggest lessons that you've learned?
The very first thing that comes to mind is that you really don't need much to start an online business. And all of the things that you will read online, sometimes you can ignore them. It takes little to absolutely no money. Actually, it can take you no money to start an online business. And the bulk of the mistakes I made in the earlier stages going along was purchasing apps that I didn't need, and then realizing, oh, I really don't need this. I really don't need to spend any money to get clients. My clients have so far come from LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah.
So I now do some guest blogging on a familiar blog, and I've had some people reach out from there now as well. But I didn't have to do any paid marketing or pay for any services now to get the business up and running. And the main expenses right now are kind of like my CRM, because you want a proper functioning CRM to keep the business working. And just for social media purposes, I upgraded Canva, but I really don't need it.
Yeah, and I think we all get this, I like to call it squirrel syndrome, where we're off chasing around on different trees, because, and some people call it shiny object syndrome, because there's so many distractions, like you say, you should use this piece of software or this tool. It's so easy to get distracted, isn't it? And then you're not really focusing on what you should be focusing on. Do you think that's quite a common thing?
Yep, it is very common. A lot of us see new apps, we get new apps, and we really want to try it. We want to see what it's like. But if you can avoid everyone saying you're using one thing and then another one person is telling you, oh, this other app is really, really good, they're now rolling out XYZ. As long as your applications are working, they're functioning, you're getting what you need out of them, there's no need to go searching in another app to see what it is all about, unless it is a part of your development and your business, which is I kind of have to use a plethora of applications for various clients who have various preferences. But if that's not your field, I wouldn't advise wasting time learning tools. That is what you really need to outsource if you're trying to scale.
Yeah, exactly. So, and also, what would you say, because obviously starting your own business, it's like a learning curve. I speak to a lot of people that say that they always wanted to have their own business, but things were holding them back. Quite often those things were fear, self-doubt, not having a business idea. So, what would you say are the most important characteristics that you think that somebody needs to have to be a successful entrepreneur?
Determination, and that is all. Determination and your drive to succeed will get you there, and a cheerful and willing character. Be willing to learn, be willing to adapt, and most of all, no selling of your soul. Do not let anyone talk you down of the price you think you're worth, especially in the beginning when you think that you need to lower your price to secure a client because you're now starting out. You might now be starting out in the online world or in a different field, but you may have experience from your corporate job.
Yeah.
Virtual business was new to me, but I was highly experienced from corporate. So to say that I am charging below what I was worth because I didn't have any experience would have been doing myself an injustice. I also did, there are many experiences out there. I had a lovely experience this year, March 2019, with a client in California to attend a launch that I spent 3 months planning, sold out in 5 days after launching, and they wanted me to come to California to experience it. And next month I head to a retreat with another one of my clients in South Carolina. So it's a phenomenal experience when you meet the right people.
Yeah,
And these are all expenses paid trips.
Yeah, that is, I love that. So, you know, would you have kind of any advice for listeners that perhaps have been on a similar path to you? You know, you were in a corporate job that you hated, you wanted to get out, you wanted to start your business. Do you have any advice for listeners that are perhaps in that similar place where they want to start something, but they don't really know how to move and make that first step to start their dream business? Do you have any advice at all?
I just would love to let them know that starting and dreaming are two totally different things. And you have to start somewhere. Do not stay stifled in an environment where you wake up every day and wonder why you have to go in there, and you start to feel depleted and depressed. And I am very much available to lend any guidance that any of your listeners may have to get off the ground, to get them where they would love to be and out of any situations that they're in that are like mine. Because with my last corporate job, I started to think so many things of what I could do to get out of my situation that were not good, and that is what really made me feel as though it wasn't the place for me. When I got home on evenings, my daughter wanted to play or chat. The evening that I shouted at her for absolutely nothing, I knew that was it.
Yeah, because you were so stressed out in the environment that you were, it kind of like comes back into your home life, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to lay down, and she wants to play. And why am I telling my toddler not right now? Because I'm thinking about what happened at work.
Yeah.
It wasn't that important to me in my life, and she comes first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think life's too short, isn't it, to be stuck in a job that you hate, working with people who, are disrespecting you. And like you say, you've worked with, there's a lot of corporate bullying that goes on. I just, on my podcast, speak to so many people that have been through sort of corporate bullying, and life's too short, I believe anyway. I want to ask you as well, from that adversity that you went through in your corporate career, what would you say are the biggest triumphs that you've had in that journey of starting your own business?
My biggest triumphs, let's pause right here. I am stuck to say it's amazing how we remember the bad things and forget the good.
Yeah.
I have had let's say it was I kind of stepped out on a leap of faith, because a lot of people make sure that they build their businesses up before they resigned, and I didn't. I did not have enough money to make that leap that I did. And when I did it, I took a vacation with my daughter before coming back to figure out how I would get it done. And in less than a month, I had already matched my salary. So I was feeling really, really good about it. And the triumphs, let's see, in corporate, I was awarded for many things, but still I felt overlooked. Now, there are not much people that agreed with what I did. I do have a mentor that was around from when I was about 16 when I met him. Then I was his personal assistant then, and he guides me along the way, and he believes in me like no one. As well, my best friend, I would say that they're there, they support me, they've never left. But I've had the masses tell me what I was doing didn't make sense. Why would I leave my managerial job to go do something that I was unsure of? So I stopped telling people what I was doing because I didn't want to hear what they had to say about it. But the corporate job really developed my listening skills and my patience to move on into this world of business by myself. Because when you are in the kind of job that I was in corporate, the one I told you that I absolutely loved so much, you have to learn how to speak to people, how to set your tone. And I had a lot of guidance in that area because it wasn't my strong area. And I went into the organization as a teen, and trust and believe when I tell you that when persons said something to me, I didn't respond in the nicest way. But I lasted the length of time I did because I used to work really well. And when my employers, my bosses called me into the office to discuss how I was responding or speaking to people, they would often let me know that I had a lot of potential, but I needed to see myself in the light so that I can understand how I respond to people and tailor my responses to respond to them better and to think about what I'm saying before I say what I say. And it was a transition period because I went immediately answering to not answering at all, which turned out to be a problem because that person was saying that I wasn't answering. But that was the only way I could then structure myself or compose myself not to respond negatively. But it was still seen as being not impolite. And then I eventually got to the point where I was able to set the tone and answer in a manner that was acceptable. Still definitely growing every day, always growing, but that was the biggest learning curve for me in corporate. And really I have a lot of people to thank for really guiding me through that process and giving me opportunities, because there are a lot of times that I could have been terminated for things that I said.
So you've obviously learned from those, and you talked about having really good mentors as well, which I think is so important, because I think particularly it's important in corporate, of course, but I think particularly in business, because you can feel quite isolated, and and it's a new experience when you're starting a business. So to have a mentor that really believes in you, particularly when there's people around you, like you say, that don't really understand it or get it, and so many people don't understand why somebody would want to leave the security of a corporate job for going it alone and starting their own business. So I want to congratulate you on that leap of faith that you say that you took, because I think it's admirable, because there's so many people that would like to do that, but it's scary, and it's that fear, isn't it, that holds us back from doing that.
It is very scary, Michelle, because I wondered how I was going to pay the bills, how I was going to pay my daughter's school fees, how I was going to contribute my part of the things I needed to contribute towards in the household. And then when I matched my salary, it was exactly 3 weeks. So I managed to match my salary before the bill payment time came. I could not believe it. But it was also the drive of knowing that I had these things to do. And there was no money to look forward to from my employer, and I had to secure clients to get it. So it's back to that determination that you said is the number one characteristic that you need to succeed in business, which I totally agree with. I think you've got to have passion for what you're doing, determination, and also resilience to realize sometimes things don't always go to plan, do they? But you've got to have that ability to to deal with the knockbacks, basically, and not let to fall at the first hurdle, but really to look for solutions to problems, or to failings as well, because sometimes I think our failings are the things that lead us to learn our greatest lessons. Would you agree with that? Of course. And then also persons never be afraid as well to invest in yourself. It doesn't need to be a big investment, but there are a lot of courses out there which are reasonably priced that can where you want to be and can train you on a lot of great content and materials out there. I love that. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, and particularly, like I said, I just want to re-emphasize the importance of businesses, putting in those operating processes, because as I said, I think a lot of us
don't necessarily do that. We tend to hold things in our head, and and then when we're going through that stage of growing and we're taking on new people, if we might then train somebody in how to do it, but if that person then leaves and those processes are in their head, then we have to start all over again. So I just think that's so important, and I love what you're doing to help businesses to get that in place. But I wanted to ask you as well, because I know that you talked about offering a clarity call to any of my listeners that may want some help in this area. So can you just explain a little bit about that and what you can do to help any Victorious FM listeners that may be interested in finding out more about your services?
Definitely. If you're interested in setting up standard operating procedures for your business, I would definitely go into deeper details of what you could have after we discuss how your business runs, the things that you could do to make it better, and definitely, as Michelle said, what you can do to get those things out of your head, how we can get them out of your head. So pretty much analyzing what you do, setting up the procedures, putting them in place. You will also, I could also provide you with templates to get started. And any person out there, if you're listening and you want guidance on how to take that leap of faith to start your business, I am also available to have some virtual coffee with you, no strings attached, sharing that knowledge. And I would love to say some of my clients have gone on honeymoons after 5 years of being married, and 6 years to be exact, 2 of them, because I put systems in place and they were able to bring someone else for the time that they were going on the honeymoon on board, to take that time off without looking at business. They've taken family vacations, which they've delayed for time and time again. Oh, I can't go on holiday this summer because I have to deal with my business. As long as you have those written procedures in place, or you just need someone that you can trust, a good business manager, a good virtual assistant that you can leave there when you are gone and not have to worry about the ship sinking.
And I think that's so important, because the reason that I was interested in having you in the show is I was looking at it from an emergency point of view, that it's so important, but also just from your own health and well-being point of view, because I think there's so many entrepreneurs that either don't take vacations or they don't take quality vacations. And what I mean by that is that although they may be on vacation, they're not really, because they're still having to do stuff in their business. So again, this is another reason why it's important to have those systems and procedures and processes in place and documented, isn't it? So that you can literally walk away from your business, which we all have to do at some time. So, we've all got to switch off at some time. So that's another really important reason to have these things in place. So thank you for that. And can I just ask then, if any of our listeners want to get in touch with you, find out more about you, how can they do that?
I am available at LaToyaRussell.com for your virtual coffee. You can send me an email at LaToya@LaToyaRussell.com. It's that easy.
That's perfect. That's brilliant. And I will make sure that that's included in the show notes and also over on the Victorious Entrepreneurs website. But I just want to thank you so much, LaToya, again for spending the time talking with me today, because what you're doing is so valuable, and I really wanted to get that message out there. So thank you once again for joining us today.
Thank you so much again for having me, Michelle.
It's been my absolute pleasure, and I look forward to connecting with you again very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now. And to you, our wonderful Victorious FM listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed this interview as much as I have. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about LaToya, please either check out the show notes or head over to victoriousentrepreneurs.com, where all of our podcast guests are featured on our website. Please also check out all of our amazing free resources to help you through each stage of starting, launching and growing your own successful business. And please don't forget to subscribe to Victorious FM on iTunes or Stitcher to make sure that you don't miss out on another inspiring episode. But until next week, stay victorious.
You're listening to Victorious FM. Victorious Entrepreneurs, for women who are victorious in business and in life.